In the vast emptiness of space, Orion 7 rescue station hovered silently above the shattered remains of an alien vessel. The command center buzzed with activity as mission specialists monitored screens displaying the wreckage. Jack Renair stood at the observation window, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of distant stars. Years of service in the Space Navy had prepared him for moments like these, but the sight of destruction still weighed on him. "Life signs?" he asked, his voice steady but tense. Captain Torres shook her head. "Nothing conclusive. Too much interference from the radiation. We need someone to go in and check." Jack nodded. "I'll gear up." The quiet corridors of Orion 7 felt safe compared to what awaited him. Humanity had expanded its reach to neighboring star clusters decades ago, establishing outposts and rescue stations throughout charted space. Orion 7 was one such beacon of human presence in this remote sector, tasked with monitoring distress signals and providing aid when needed. As Jack suited up in the preparation chamber, he ran through the mission parameters in his mind. The alien vessel had been discovered drifting, badly damaged from what appeared to be an attack. No communication had been established, and the station's long-range scanners couldn't penetrate the ship's hull completely. "Remember, this is reconnaissance only," Torres reminded him through the comm. "If you find survivors, mark their location, and we'll send in the medical team." Jack sealed his helmet, the familiar hiss of pressurization bringing him comfort. "Copy that. Opening airlock now." The void greeted him as he pushed off from Orion 7, propulsion jets guiding him toward the alien vessel. Up close, the damage was far worse than the scans had suggested. Entire sections had been ripped apart, exposing the ship's innards to the merciless vacuum of space. Debris floated in eerie stillness, some pieces still glowing from the heat of whatever had torn through the hull. Jack activated his scanner as he approached a jagged opening. "I'm picking up atmospheric pressure inside. Minimal, but present. Some life support systems might still be functional." "Proceed with caution," Torres responded. "We're monitoring your vitals." The beam from Jack's helmet illuminated the darkened corridor as he pulled himself inside. Floating debris made navigation difficult, and the air was thick with smoke and dust particles. His oxygen mask filtered the worst of it, but the visibility remained poor. The emergency lights flickered weakly, casting shifting shadows that played tricks on his eyes. "I'm in," Jack reported, moving toward the main compartment. As he pushed deeper into the vessel, Jack's scanner began to pick up something, a faint life signature emanating from somewhere ahead. The ship groaned around him, metal contracting and expanding as temperature differentials stressed the damaged structure. "Got something," he said, adjusting his scanner's sensitivity. "Weak but steady. Definitely alive." Jack maneuvered around floating debris, past darkened control panels and what appeared to be crew quarters. Bodies drifted lifelessly in the reduced gravity, their forms alien and unfamiliar to him. Their skin bore a bluish tint, with elongated limbs and facial features that reminded him of deep-sea creatures from Earth. Whatever civilization they belonged to, it was one humanity had yet to formally encounter. The life signature grew stronger as Jack approached what seemed to be a sealed compartment. The door was partially jammed, forced shut by the structural damage to the surrounding frame. With effort, he managed to create an opening large enough to squeeze through. "I've reached the source of the life sign," Jack reported, attempting to... He stopped mid-sentence. In the corner of the chamber, curled into a protective ball, was a small figure. Unlike the adult forms he had passed, this one was tiny, a child by any species standard. Her skin was a pale blue, almost translucent, and her eyes, when they flicked open at his approach, were large and luminous white, seeming to glow in the darkness. But what struck Jack most was her desperate gasping. The compartment's air was thin and contaminated, and the child was clearly struggling to breathe. Her small chest heaved with effort, each intake a battle against the failing environmental systems. Without hesitation, Jack reached for his oxygen mask. The ship's life support was deteriorating rapidly. The air would only get thinner. In one swift motion, he detached his mask and gently placed it over the alien child's face. "I've found a survivor," he managed through his suddenly labored breathing. "A child. She's not getting enough oxygen." "Jack, your oxygen levels are dropping," Torres warned, her voice sharp with concern. "What have you done?" "She needs it more than I do," Jack replied, watching as the child's breathing began to normalize. The mask was far too large for her small face, but he held it in place, ensuring she received the precious oxygen. "I need extraction for 2, and prepare the medical bay." The child's luminous eyes stared at him, wide with fear and confusion. Jack tried to smile reassuringly, though he wasn't sure if she could read human expressions. The smoke-filled air burned his lungs, but he maintained his focus on keeping the mask in place. "It's okay," he said softly, knowing she couldn't understand his words but hoping his tone would convey his intentions. "We're going to get you out of here." The child made a soft chirping sound, her hand tentatively reaching out to touch the strange material of Jack's suit. She was no more than 6 or 7 by human standards, though Jack knew better than to apply Earth metrics to alien development. As Jack's own breathing grew more labored, he scanned the compartment for anything that might help. His gaze landed on what appeared to be a storage unit across the chamber. With one hand still holding the mask to the child's face, he pushed off the wall and floated toward it. Inside, he found emergency supplies, and to his relief, what looked like a portable oxygen canister. The design was unfamiliar, but the purpose seemed clear enough. He brought it back to the child, examining the connection mechanism. "I think I found a backup oxygen supply," he informed Torres. "Trying to get it working now." After several attempts, Jack managed to activate the canister and connect it to his mask. The child's breathing eased further as fresh oxygen flowed through. With the immediate crisis addressed, Jack took a moment to assess their situation. The compartment was relatively intact compared to the rest of the ship, but the structural integrity wouldn't hold forever. He needed to get the child to safety before the remaining life support failed completely. A sudden sound caught his attention, a rhythmic thumping from somewhere beyond the compartment. Jack froze, listening intently. The sound grew closer, deliberate and mechanical. "There's something else on board," he whispered into his comm. "Moving toward our position." The thumping stopped, replaced by the screech of metal against metal. Jack pulled the child closer, positioning himself between her and the partially open door. From his belt, he withdrew a utility knife, a poor weapon, but all he had. "We need to move," he told Torres. "Now." The child seemed to sense his urgency. She clutched the oxygen mask with one hand and Jack's suit with the other, her eyes darting toward the door. Jack peered through the opening. The corridor beyond was dark, but he could make out a shadow moving among the debris, something large and mechanical. The shape suggested a cyborg of some kind, a fusion of organic and synthetic parts, common among spacefaring species. But its movements were erratic, predatory. "I think it's a pirate cyborg," Jack whispered. "Probably boarding party from whatever attacked this ship." "Can you avoid it?" Torres asked. "Going to try. There should be escape pods somewhere on this level." Carefully, Jack gathered the child in one arm, ensuring the oxygen mask remained in place. With his scanner, he mapped a route through the back corridors that would hopefully lead them to safety while avoiding the cyborg. "Hold tight," he told the child, who responded by wrapping her arms around his neck. They slipped out of the compartment and into the darkened corridor beyond. Jack moved as silently as possible, using the debris for cover. The child remained remarkably quiet, as if understanding the need for stealth. The thumping sound resumed, but farther away now. Jack allowed himself a small measure of relief as they made progress toward what his scanner indicated might be an escape pod bay. As they passed through what appeared to be an engineering section, Jack's scanner picked up another life sign, faint but distinct from the first. He paused, torn between continuing toward safety and investigating. "I'm detecting another survivor," he informed Torres, "in what looks like a cryo chamber." "Your priority is extracting the first survivor," Torres reminded him. "We can send another team for—" "It's close," Jack interrupted. "And the cryo systems are failing. They won't last until a second team arrives." After a moment of hesitation, Torres sighed. "Be quick. Your oxygen won't last forever." Jack adjusted his course, following the new signal to a small technical room adjacent to the main corridor. Inside, he found a cryo chamber built into the wall, its status lights flickering between red and green, a clear sign of system failure. Through the frosted glass, he could make out another child, older than the first but with similar features. The chamber's display showed critical warnings in an alien script he couldn't read. But the universal color coding told him enough. The life support was minutes away from complete failure. "I've found the second survivor," Jack reported. "Another child, in cryo. System's about to fail." He set down the first child, ensuring her oxygen supply was secure. "I need to get this chamber working again," he explained, gesturing to show his intentions. The child watched as Jack examined the cryo unit's control panel. The interface was alien, but the basic principles of life support systems were universal. He identified what appeared to be the power coupling and rerouted emergency energy from a nearby system. The chamber's lights stabilized, turning a steady green. The display showed improved readings as the cryonic process stabilized. Through the clearing glass, Jack could see the second child more clearly now, a girl of perhaps 12, her features bearing a striking resemblance to the younger child. "Sisters," Jack murmured, looking between them. The younger child made an excited chirping sound, pressing her small hands against the cryo chamber. The recognition in her eyes confirmed Jack's guess. As the cryo chamber began its revival sequence, Jack heard the thumping sound again, much closer this time. He turned to see a shadow fall across the doorway. The cyborg stood there, its organic components barely recognizable beneath mechanical augmentations. What might have once been an alien, similar to the children, had been grotesquely modified with weapons and sensory equipment. Its eyes glowed red in the darkness, focusing first on Jack and then on the children. Jack positioned himself protectively in front of the younger child and the cryo chamber. "Stay back," he warned, knowing the creature couldn't understand him. The cyborg advanced, mechanical limbs whirring. Jack looked desperately around the room for anything he could use as a weapon. The younger child suddenly darted forward, grabbing a metal cylinder from the floor and throwing it at the cyborg with surprising force. The cylinder struck a control panel near the cyborg, causing a shower of sparks. The machine recoiled, momentarily disoriented by the electrical discharge. Jack seized the opportunity, scooping up the child and backing toward a secondary exit he had spotted. "The cryo chamber," Torres reminded him through the comm. "No time," Jack responded. "We need to get clear first." They slipped through the exit into another corridor, just as the cyborg recovered and lunged forward. Jack sealed the door behind them, knowing it wouldn't hold for long. His scanner indicated an escape pod bay just ahead. As they reached it, Jack was relieved to find one pod still operational. He quickly placed the child inside. "I'm sending the first survivor to you," he told Torres. "Launching escape pod now." The child made distressed sounds, clutching at Jack's suit as if understanding he wasn't coming with her. "It's okay," he assured her. "I'm going back for your sister. I'll see you soon." With gentle firmness, he detached her grip and sealed the pod. Through the viewport, her luminous eyes watched him as the launch sequence initiated. The pod ejected smoothly, arcing away from the damaged vessel toward Orion 7. Pod launched, Jack confirmed. One child secure. I'm going back for the second. Jack, your oxygen levels are critical, Torres warned. Extract now. We'll send... No time, Jack cut in. The cryo chamber is reviving. She'll suffocate if I don't get her out. Ignoring Torres's continued protests, Jack made his way back toward the technical room. The cyborg had already broken through the door he'd sealed, but seemed to be searching in the wrong direction. Jack used the opportunity to slip past, approaching the technical room from another access point. Inside, he found the cryo chamber in its final revival stage. The glass canopy had retracted, and the older child was beginning to stir, her eyes fluttering open, like her sister. They glowed white in the darkness, disoriented and afraid. Jack approached slowly, hands raised to show he meant no harm. The girl's eyes focused on him, confusion evident in her expression. "Friend," she said in a halting, accented version of English that startled Jack. "You... friend?" "Yes," Jack nodded, surprised at her ability to speak his language. "Friend, I'm here to help." The girl attempted to sit up but was still weak from cryostasis. Jack moved to assist her, supporting her as she adjusted to consciousness. "Sister?" she asked, looking around anxiously. "Safe," Jack assured her. "I sent her ahead. We need to go too." A crash from the corridor told him the cyborg had found them. Jack glanced at his oxygen indicator. Dangerously low now. The smoke-filled air was taking its toll, his vision beginning to blur at the edges. "Can you walk?" he asked the girl, who nodded uncertainly. He helped her to her feet, steadying her as she took her first steps out of the chamber. They had barely reached the door when a second crash announced the cyborg's arrival. But this wasn't the same one Jack had encountered earlier. This machine was sleeker, faster, and clearly more dangerous. "Run!" Jack urged, pushing the girl ahead of him toward an emergency maintenance shaft he'd spotted on his scanner. The cyborg moved with frightening speed, mechanical limbs propelling it forward in great bounds. Jack pulled a flare from his belt and ignited it, throwing it at a cluster of defense drones that had been dormant in the corner. The bright flash activated their sensors, causing them to spring to life and begin firing indiscriminately. In the confusion, Jack and the girl reached the maintenance shaft. He helped her inside, following quickly as the sound of combat erupted behind them. The shaft was narrow and dark, but it led away from the cyborg and toward what Jack hoped was an emergency station. "What's your name?" Jack asked as they crawled through the shaft, trying to keep the girl focused and calm. "Kira," she replied, her voice stronger now. "You saved sister?" "Yes," Jack confirmed. "She's safe on my ship. Her name?" "Eli," Kira answered. "She's small, afraid." "Not anymore," Jack assured her. "She was very brave, like you." They emerged into a small emergency station equipped with a survival pod, not as sophisticated as an escape pod, but designed to maintain life support until rescue arrived. Jack helped Kira inside, checking the systems to ensure they were operational. "This will keep you safe," he explained, pointing to the controls. "My people will come for you." Kira grabbed his arm as he prepared to seal the pod. "You come too," she insisted. Jack shook his head, his breathing now painfully labored. "Can't. Need to lead them away." He tapped his locator beacon. "They'll find you." Before Kira could protest further, the station shook violently. The cyborg had found them, tearing through the outer bulkhead with mechanical strength. Jack sealed Kira in the survival pod, activating its independent life support system. Through the viewport, her luminous eyes watched him with dawning understanding and fear. Jack turned to face the approaching cyborg, drawing its attention away from the survival pod. His oxygen reserves were nearly depleted, but he had one advantage: knowledge of the ship's layout from his scanner. If he could lead the cyborg away and reach the memory core, he might be able to open a direct path to Orion 7 for extraction. The cyborg burst into the station, its red eyes fixing on Jack. With a deliberate movement, Jack retreated through the far door, ensuring the machine followed him rather than investigating the survival pod. The chase led through burning corridors and failing systems, Jack staying just ahead of his pursuer. Finally, he reached the memory core, a central chamber filled with data storage units and control interfaces. Jack sealed the door behind him, knowing it wouldn't hold for long. His vision was tunneling now, oxygen deprivation taking its toll. With fumbling fingers, he activated the emergency beacon on his suit, broadcasting his location to Orion 7. The door buckled as the cyborg began to force its way through. Jack positioned himself behind a console, preparing for the inevitable confrontation. His mind flashed to the two alien children. At least they would survive, even if he didn't. The cyborg broke through, advancing with mechanical precision. Jack braced himself, but instead of attacking, the machine stopped. Its head tilted, as if processing new information. "Protector," it said in a halting, synthesized approximation of speech. "I am Protector." Jack stared in confusion. "What?" "Royal Guard," the cyborg continued, gestures becoming less threatening. "Princess Kira, programmed to protect." Understanding dawned on Jack. "You're not a pirate, you're her bodyguard." The cyborg's systems hummed as internal conflicts played out. Programming corrupted. Attack protocols activated. But core directive remains. "She's safe," Jack told it, his words slurring as oxygen deprivation worsened. "Both of them, safe." The cyborg processed this information, its red eyes flickering between red and a softer blue. "Princess Kira. Life signs unstable. Cryo-revival incomplete. Cardiac failure imminent." Alarm shot through Jack. "What? But the pod's life support." "Insufficient," the cyborg stated. "Royal physiology requires specific support during revival. Without it, death." Jack pushed himself upright, fighting against the growing darkness at the edges of his vision. "How do we save her?" The cyborg's mechanical components whirred as it calculated. "Power transfer. My systems to hers. Direct interface." "You can do that?" Jack asked. "Affirmative, but will result in my deactivation." Despite everything, Jack felt a pang of empathy for the machine. "You'd sacrifice yourself?" "Core directive," the cyborg stated simply. "Protect Princess Kira." Before Jack could respond, the station shook violently. The structural integrity was failing faster than anticipated. Time was running out. "Do it," Jack urged. "Save her." The cyborg turned and moved with new purpose toward the emergency station. Jack followed, his movements increasingly uncoordinated as his oxygen reserves hit critical levels. They reached the survival pod, where Kira's life signs were indeed failing, her face pale and breathing shallow. The cyborg interfaced with the pod systems, mechanical components reconfiguring to connect with the alien technology. Energy began to flow from the machine to the pod, strengthening its life support and providing the specific requirements for Kira's physiology. "Tell Princess, I fulfilled duty," the cyborg said as its systems began to power down, the red glow in its eyes dimming. "I will," Jack promised, watching as Kira's color improved and her breathing stabilized. With a final mechanical sigh, the cyborg shut down, sacrificing itself for its charge. Jack's own consciousness was fading now, his lungs burning from the toxic air. He slumped against the pod, his hand pressed against the viewport where Kira slept peacefully, unaware of what had transpired. Through the haze of his fading vision, Jack saw new lights, bright and steady, approaching through the smoke. The extraction team from Orion 7 had arrived, their environmental suits gleaming in the emergency lights. "Here!" he tried to call, but no sound emerged from his oxygen-starved lungs. It didn't matter. Their scanners had found him, and strong hands were lifting him, a fresh oxygen mask being placed over his face. The sweet rush of clean air filled his lungs, though consciousness continued to slip away. "The girl," he managed to gasp. "In the pod, save her." "We've got her," a medic assured him. "Both of them are safe. Rest now." Jack surrendered to the darkness, satisfied that his mission was complete. The bright lights of the medical bay aboard the rescue vessel Resolute were the first thing Jack saw when he regained consciousness. The steady beep of monitoring equipment filled the room, a reassuring rhythm that told him he was alive. "Welcome back," said Medic Ryan, checking Jack's vitals. "You gave us quite a scare." Jack tried to sit up, but Ryan gently pushed him back down. "Easy. You suffered severe oxygen deprivation. Your lungs need time to recover." "The children," Jack said, his voice rough. "The alien girls, are they—" "They're fine," Ryan assured him. "The younger one, Eli, she calls herself, has been asking about you constantly. And the older one, Kira, is recovering well from the cryo-revival. Thanks to that cyborg sacrifice, she avoided any permanent damage." Relief washed over Jack. "Can I see them?" Ryan hesitated, then nodded. "Briefly. They've been quite insistent." A few minutes later, the door slid open to reveal Eli, her luminous eyes widening at the sight of Jack. Without hesitation, she rushed to his bedside, chirping excitedly in her native language. "She's been learning English at an impressive rate," Ryan commented, "but still reverts to her language when excited." Eli carefully climbed onto the bed, mindful of Jack's medical equipment. She reached out to touch his face, as if confirming he was real. "Friend," she said, echoing her sister's word. "You came back." "I promised, didn't I?" Jack smiled. Kira entered more cautiously, still weak from her ordeal but steadier on her feet. She approached the bed, her expression solemn and dignified despite her youth. "Bodyguards say to tell you, thank you," she said carefully. "He remember his purpose." Jack nodded, understanding the significance of the message. "He saved your life. He was very brave." "Like you," Kira replied, placing her hand on his. "Brave human." Over the following days, as Jack recovered, and the Resolute made its way back to Earth's outpost, he spent much of his time with Eli and Kira. They shared what they could of their stories, piecing together the tragedy that had befallen their people. Their ship had been part of a royal convoy, evacuating their homeworld due to an escalating conflict. Pirates had attacked, boarding and killing most of the adults. The royal guards, including the cyborgs, had fought back, but were eventually corrupted by the pirates' technology. In the chaos, the girls' parents, members of the royal family, had hidden them, sacrificing themselves to give their daughters a chance at survival. "What will happen to them now?" Jack asked Captain Torres as they approached Earth's outpost. Torres sighed. "Standard procedure is to place alien refugees with foster families who specialize in interspecies adaptation. There are several on the outpost who could take them." Jack watched through the viewport as Eli and Kira examined a star chart, their luminous eyes wide with wonder at the sight of Earth's location. "I'd like to apply," he said suddenly. Torres looked at him in surprise. "Apply for what?" "To be their guardian," Jack clarified. "I know it's unusual, but they trust me. And after everything they've been through—" Torres studied him for a long moment. "It won't be easy. There's cultural adaptation, language barriers, physiological differences." "I know," Jack interrupted. "But they deserve stability. Someone who understands what they've experienced." After a pause, Torres nodded. "I'll support your application, but the final decision rests with the adoption committee." The Earth outpost came into view, a sprawling complex of habitats and research facilities nestled among terraformed landscapes. Trees and grass surrounded the buildings, creating a small oasis of Earth in the vastness of space. As they disembarked, Eli and Kira stayed close to Jack, overwhelmed by the new environment and the many humans going about their business. Jack kept a reassuring hand on their shoulders, guiding them through the processing center and medical evaluations required for all new arrivals. The weeks that followed were filled with interviews, assessments, and mountains of paperwork. Jack faced questioning from specialists in alien psychology, physiology, and cultural integration. Eli and Kira underwent their own evaluations, though they refused to be separated from Jack for long. "They've formed a strong attachment," noted Dr. Patel, the head of the adoption committee. "Breaking that bond could cause significant trauma after what they've experienced." "Then don't break it," Jack argued. "I'm committed to their well-being. Whatever they need, I'll provide." Finally, after what seemed like an eternity of deliberation, the committee reached their decision. Jack was summoned to Dr. Patel's office, where Eli and Kira waited anxiously. "Mr. Renner," Patel began formally, "the committee has reviewed your application extensively. The circumstances are undeniably unique, but so is the bond you formed with these children." Jack held his breath, feeling Eli's small hand slip into his. "We've decided to approve your guardianship application," Patel continued, a smile breaking through her professional demeanor. "Congratulations. You're officially a family." Eli's excited chirps filled the room as she hugged Jack tightly. Kira's response was more reserved, but the relief and joy in her luminous eyes spoke volumes. "There will be regular check-ins and support services available," Patel added. "But we believe this is the best outcome for everyone involved." A month later, Jack stood in the doorway of a small house on the outpost's residential ring. The dwelling had been modified to accommodate the girls' physiological needs, with specialized lighting and atmospheric controls. Outside, a garden flourished with both earth plants and carefully cultivated specimens from star systems near the girls' homeworld. Inside, Eli and Kira were adapting to their new life with remarkable resilience. Eli's English improved daily, though she still lapsed into chirps and trills when excited. Kira, more reserved but equally determined, had begun studying Earth's cultures and histories, eager to understand her new home. Each night, Jack would tell them stories, some from Earth's rich folklore, others from his own experiences among the stars. Tonight, as he finished a tale about ancient seafarers navigating by starlight, Eli snuggled closer on the couch. "Were you scared?" she asked suddenly. "When you gave me your mask?" Jack considered the question carefully. "Yes," he admitted, "but not about giving you the mask. That was easy." "Why easy?" Kira asked from her perch on the armchair. "Because it was right," Jack explained simply. "Sometimes the right thing is clear, even when it's difficult." Eli nodded solemnly, processing this wisdom. "Like your cyborg," she said to Kira. "He remembered right thing." "Yes," Kira agreed softly. "He remembered." Later, as Jack tucked them into their beds, adjusted to their specific comfort needs, he reflected on the strange journey that had brought them together. From a damaged ship in the void to this peaceful home filled with the sounds of childish laughter and alien chirps. It was not the life he had envisioned for himself, but it was one he now couldn't imagine living without. "Sleep well," he told them, dimming the lights to the soft blue glow they preferred. "Story tomorrow?" Eli asked sleepily. "Of course," Jack promised. "Always." As he retreated to the doorway, he watched their luminous eyes slowly close. Outside the window, the stars shone brightly against the darkness, the same stars that had witnessed their first encounter, when a human had given his oxygen mask to a tiny alien girl gasping for air. In that moment of crisis, something profound had formed, a bond that transcended species and space, creating a family where none had existed before. Jack smiled and gently closed the door, leaving it open just a crack, enough for the hallway light to spill in, a beacon in the darkness, guiding them home. The soft hum of the environmental systems created a peaceful backdrop as Jack settled into his own bed. Tomorrow would bring new challenges: Kira's cultural integration class, Eli's medical checkup, and his own return to limited duty at the outpost's Rescue Coordination Center. But for now, in this moment of quiet, he allowed himself to feel the simple joy of knowing the children were safe. He had given an oxygen mask to a stranger, not knowing where that single act would lead. Now, he couldn't imagine his life any other way. As sleep claimed him, Jack's last thoughts were of luminous eyes and chirping laughter, of danger faced and overcome, and of the family forged in the most unlikely of circumstances, proof that compassion could bridge the vast distances between stars and species alike. In the darkness of their new home, Eli and Kira slept peacefully, their dreams no longer haunted by the horrors they had survived. And in the silence between stars, a cyborg sacrifice was remembered, one final act of protection that had allowed a princess to find a new home and a new guardian among the stars. The next morning, Jack awoke to the sound of chirping, not from Eli, but from birds in the garden outside. He found the girls already awake, Kira helping Eli navigate the food synthesizer's settings to produce something approximating their native breakfast. "Morning," Jack greeted them, amazed at how quickly they were adapting. "Sleep well?" Eli nodded enthusiastically. "I dream of home, but not sad dream. Good dream," Kira added more solemnly. "I remember mother and father. They would be glad we are safe." Jack placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "They would be very proud of how brave you both have been." After breakfast, they walked together to the outpost's central hub. The artificial sky dome projected Earth's blue heavens above them, complete with simulated clouds and gentle breezes. Other residents nodded greetings, some still curious about the alien children, but most now accustomed to their presence. As they reached the education center, Kira hesitated. "Will you come today?" she asked Jack. "For cultural presentation?" "I wouldn't miss it," Jack assured her. 1,500 hours, right? I'll be there after my shift." Satisfied, Kira entered the building with newfound confidence. Eli would join the younger group, where education focused more on play and basic skills. Despite their alien physiology, the educational specialists had determined that their cognitive development followed patterns similar enough to human children for integration into modified classes. Jack continued to the Rescue Coordination Center, where Captain Torres greeted him with a knowing smile. "How's fatherhood treating you, Renair?" she asked. "It's an adventure," Jack replied honestly, "but the best kind." "The kind where you give up your oxygen mask?" Torres raised an eyebrow. Jack smiled. "I'd do it again in a heartbeat." His shift passed monitoring rescue beacons and coordinating supply deliveries to distant outposts. The work was important, but routine, allowing his thoughts to occasionally drift to the girls. He wondered what Kira's presentation would cover. She had been researching Earth's oceans, fascinated by the similarity between deep-sea creatures and her own people's evolutionary path. At precisely 1,500 hours, Jack slipped into the back of the presentation hall. Kira stood at the front, her slender blue form straight and dignified as she explained the cultural significance of water in her people's heritage. Her English was still accented but clear, and the confidence in her voice made Jack's chest swell with pride. When she spotted him, a smile briefly illuminated her features before she continued her presentation. The other students listened attentively, asking questions that Kira answered with growing assurance. This was healing for her, Jack realized. Sharing her heritage helped keep it alive while building bridges to her new community. After the presentations, Jack collected Eli from her class, where she proudly showed him the artistic creation she had made, a swirling representation of stars and planets that somehow captured the essence of their journey together. "It's beautiful," Jack told her sincerely. "We'll find the perfect place for it at home." As they walked back through the outpost's green spaces, Eli skipping ahead and Kira walking thoughtfully beside Jack, an alert sounded from his communicator. Captain Torres's voice came through, tense but controlled. "Jack, we've received a distress signal from Sector 7. Similar signature to the vessel where you found the girls. Jack's steps faltered. Survivors? Possibly. We're dispatching Resolute for investigation. Given your experience with their technology and culture, you want me on the mission, Jack finished for her. Only if you're willing, and only as an advisor. No direct engagement this time. Jack looked at Kira, who had stopped walking and was watching him with those luminous, knowing eyes. Despite her youth, she understood the significance of the call. More, my people? She asked quietly. Maybe, Jack answered truthfully. We don't know yet. Eli had returned to them, sensing the change in mood. You go away? She asked, her small hand finding Jack's. Jack knelt to their level. Just for a short mission, to see if there are more people like you who need help. Kira nodded solemnly. You must go, like you came for us. But you come back, Eli insisted, her chirps rising in distress. Promise. I promise, Jack assured her, gathering both girls into his arms. I will always come back to you. Later that evening, as Jack packed a small bag for the mission, Kira appeared in his doorway. She held something in her hands, a small device salvaged from their vessel, one of the few possessions they had brought to their new home. This is Royal Beacon, she explained, offering it to Jack. If more my people, they recognize Royal Signal. They trust you. Jack accepted the device carefully. Thank you, Kira. This could help save lives. She nodded, her expression serious beyond her years. You saved us. Now maybe save more. After a pause, she added, Be careful of pirates. They have technology that changes programming. Changed our guards. I'll be careful, Jack promised, and I'll have a whole team with me this time. The following morning, Jack stood at the docking bay as Resolute prepared for departure. Dr. Patel had arranged for a trusted colleague to stay with the girls during his absence, someone familiar with their needs and routines. Eli clung to him until the final boarding call, her small body trembling slightly. Come back, she whispered. Always, Jack assured her, gently detaching her arms. Take care of your sister for me. Kira stood straighter at this, accepting the responsibility. We wait for you, she said simply. As Resolute pulled away from the outpost, Jack watched through the viewport as the girls' figures grew smaller, their luminous eyes visible even at a distance. The mission would take no more than a week, but already he felt the pull to return. Captain Torres joined him at the viewport. They'll be fine, Jack, and so will you. Jack nodded, turning his attention to the mission briefing. Whatever awaited them in Sector 7, whether survivors, pirates, or empty space, he would face it, complete the mission, and return home to the family he had found among the stars. Because sometimes, in the vast emptiness of space, a simple act of giving, an oxygen mask, a helping hand, a safe haven, could create connections stronger than the forces that sought to destroy them. And in those connections, even the most different beings could find common ground, common purpose, and perhaps most importantly, common heart. As Resolute entered hyperspace, Jack touched the royal beacon Kira had given him. Whatever lay ahead, he carried with him the lesson he had learned that day on the damaged alien vessel. That compassion could bridge the void between stars and species, creating family where none had existed before. It was a lesson worth sharing, worth protecting, and worth returning home for, to two luminous eyes that watched the stars, waiting for him to fulfill his promise and come back to them. Always.